Hello and welcome. In this lecture, we're going to be learning about Boolean operators so that we can make complicated statements that require multiple Booleans to be true, such as having a gargoyle only accepted if it is the correct tag and also it isn't grabbed. So when I let go of the gargoyle, you can see that the wall only responds at that point. Let's dive in and see how this works. So now ideally we would like our trigger component to ignore or not take on an acceptable actor that is currently being grabbed. So to change this, I'm going to go down into our acceptable actor implementation in trigger component CPP. And you can see in our if statement, we're currently saying, let's take an actor if it has the acceptable tag. And that's the only thing we are doing. But what I want to do is make this conditional on two things. How do we combine two Boolean values? Well, there's a couple of options. We've got some operators for this. One of them is the ampersand operator, which we read as and this basically means this will be combine two Booleans so that it's only true if both of them are true. So if we had true and true, then that is going to be equal to true. Whereas if either of these is false, so if the one on the right is false, then the whole thing is going to be false, etc. There's another option here, which is to use this double bar operator like so. And this one is read as or. And basically this means that if either one of these two is true, then the result will be true. And also, if both of them are true, the result will be true. But if both of them are false, then the result is going to be false. So those are some of the common expressions that we use. One other thing that we use is the exclamation point. And the exclamation point basically inverts whatever Boolean value we've got. And we read it as not. So you can have false, but because I put a not in front of it, this whole value, this expression becomes true. And if I were to OR it with false, then, well, because one of them at least is true, then the result is going to be true. So what we want to do here is essentially we want to say that if it has an actor tag that is the acceptable actor tag, but it doesn't have, so in this case, and it doesn't have the actor tag grabbed, then it is acceptable. So mini challenge for you. How would you use those three operators that I've just explained? You don't have to use all of them, but which ones would you use and how would you write out this if statement? Okay, so I'm going to put this into Boolean variables to make it super clear. So we've got bool that has acceptable tag is going to be equal to actor has tag acceptable tag. Okay, like so. And put a semicolon on the end of the line. Now another bool is going to be whether it is grabbed. And we can get this by going actor, arrow, actor, has tag. In this case, it's just going to be grabbed, like so. So we can say that whether it's grabbed or not on this basis. Then in the if, what we want to say is has acceptable tag and, so that's ampersand, not, that's an exclamation point, is grabbed, like so. So that reads fairly well if you read out the ampersand and the exclamation point as and not. So if acceptable has acceptable tag and not is grabbed, then we return this actor. Let's compile it and see if it works. So let's go ahead and hit play. We'll grab our gargoyle and run over to the trigger area. And you see I'm putting the gargoyle in, but nothing is happening because I've not released it yet. So what if I try and pop the gargoyle down here? There you go. As soon as I release it, it activates, it grabs the gargoyle away from me, and it disappears into the ground. Now, there are a couple of places in Grabber CPP where we've got two if statements where we could just have one if we were to use the and, or, and not operators. So one of the trick here is that when you're doing something like this, where we're checking whether something is not a null pointer, the other option is you can simply remove this not equal to null pointer. And if you simply say if, and then put in some sort of pointer as the Boolean, then that automatically checks that it isn't a null pointer. So here it's saying if the physics handle is available. Here it's saying if the grab component is available, then we can go ahead and use it. So I'd like to challenge you to combine your if statements. So you're going to join them together in tick components. Think about whether you need to use the ampersand, the and, the or whether you need to use a negation or a not or an exclamation point. And then join them together in release as well and test out your functionality and see if it still works. Pause the video and have a go. Okay, welcome back. So we're going to make use of this because basically what we want to be doing in release is we're saying if we have got a valid physics handle and that physics handle has got a grabbed component, then we want to do the body of this if statement. So it's quite simple to write it like that. We can say if physics handle and physics handle get grabbed component, then we can do the following. So that allows us to remove this early return if statement and make the code a little bit shorter. Now, the eagle-eyed among you may worry that, hey, we are dereferencing this physics handle inside the if statement in order to evaluate whether this and statement should work. Now, there is a feature of the and that it will evaluate the thing on the left first, and if that thing is false, then it doesn't even evaluate the thing on the right. It doesn't need to. It already knows that the result is going to be false. It doesn't need to evaluate anything any further. So that means it is safe to do something like this, where the result on the right to calculate it is only safe to do if the result on the left is true. And this is quite a handy property, and you'll see this used quite a lot when you're using pointers, that first you will check the pointer, and then you'll have an ampersand, and then you will use the pointer in the right-hand side. But please, please, please don't be tempted to swap these two around in order. It will not work the other way around, and you will get crashes. So let's go up to our tick component where we're essentially doing exactly the same thing. We're wanting to check that we've got a grabbed component. So what we can do up here is we can do physics handle and physics handle arrow grabbed component. We don't need that not equal to null pointer to keep it neat. And then we can go ahead and remove the if statement with the return and just keep the lines of code down, keep the legibility a little bit higher. Great stuff. So in this lecture, we've seen how to use the and, or, and not operators in C++. I'll see you in the next lecture.